At 2:47 a.m., broke single mom Sarah discovered her cruel boss had stolen $200 million from their company. She had two choices: stay silent and keep struggling, or expose him and risk losing everything. What she did next shocked the entire business world and changed her daughter's life forever. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Sarah Martinez wiped her tired eyes as she looked at the clock on her laptop screen. It was 2:47 a.m., and her 8-year-old daughter Emma was finally asleep in the next room. The small apartment was quiet except for the soft hum of her old computer. Sarah worked as a night shift data analyst for TechFlow Industries, one of the biggest software companies in the country. It wasn't her dream job, but it paid the bills and let her be home with Emma during the day. She had been trying to get promoted for 3 years, but every time a position opened up, it went to someone else. Too inexperienced, they always said. Not leadership material. What they didn't know was that Sarah had a master's degree in computer science from MIT. She had hidden this fact because she was afraid they might think she was overqualified for her current position and let her go. She needed this job desperately. Tonight was different though. Sarah had been assigned to review the company's quarterly data reports when she noticed something strange. The numbers didn't add up. There was a pattern in the system that everyone else had missed. For weeks, the company had been losing money on their biggest client, Global Tech Corporation. The contract was worth $200 million, but somehow TechFlow was spending more money fulfilling the contract than they were earning from it. The executives were panicking, and rumors were spreading that the company might have to lay off hundreds of employees. Sarah's heart raced as she dug deeper into the data. She cross-referenced shipping records, production costs, and delivery schedules. What she found made her stomach drop. Someone had been stealing from the company. It wasn't just simple theft. It was an elaborate scheme involving fake shipping addresses, inflated costs, and redirected payments. The person behind it had been careful, but they had made one mistake. They had used the same routing number for several fake transactions, and Sarah had found it. The trail led directly to Marcus Webb, the senior vice president of operations. He was the same man who had rejected Sarah's promotion applications 3 times. The same man who had told her she wasn't leadership material. The same man who drove a Ferrari while Sarah struggled to pay for Emma's school supplies. Sarah's hands shook as she compiled her evidence. She had detailed records, financial trails, and proof of Marcus's involvement in the theft. This information could save the company and hundreds of jobs. But it could also destroy her life. Marcus Webb was powerful. He had connections throughout the industry. If she accused him and somehow he found a way to turn it around, she would never work in tech again. Emma would suffer. They might lose their apartment. Sarah looked at her sleeping daughter through the open bedroom door. Emma had been asking for new shoes for months. The ones she wore to school had holes in them, but Sarah couldn't afford new ones until her next paycheck. She thought about all the times Marcus had looked down on her. How he had smiled coldly when rejecting her promotion applications. How he had made comments about single mothers not being reliable employees. Sarah made her decision. She spent the next 4 hours creating a comprehensive report. She documented everything: the fake transactions, the routing numbers, the timeline of the theft, and Marcus's involvement. She included screenshots, financial records, and a detailed analysis of how the scheme worked. When she finished, she had a 47-page report that would either save TechFlow Industries or end her career. At 7 a.m., Sarah printed the report and placed it in a sealed envelope. She wrote one name on the front: CO David Chin, urgent and confidential. Sarah had never spoken to David Chin directly. He was a legend in the tech industry, known for building TechFlow from a small startup to a billion-dollar company. He was also known for being fair but ruthless when it came to business. The company headquarters was a gleaming tower in downtown Seattle. Sarah had only been there twice before, both times for company-wide meetings where she sat in the back with hundreds of other employees. Now, she stood in the marble lobby, clutching the envelope that contained everything she had worked for all night. "I need to deliver this to Mr. Chin personally," she told the receptionist. The young woman looked Sarah up and down, taking in her worn jeans and old sweater. "Mr. Chin doesn't accept walk-in appointments. You can leave it with me and I'll make sure he gets it." "No," Sarah said firmly. "This needs to go directly to him. It's about the global tech contract." The receptionist's expression changed. Everyone in the company knew about the global tech crisis. "I'll call his assistant," she said. 20 minutes later, Sarah found herself on the 40th floor, standing outside David Chen's office. Her heart was pounding so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. The CEO's assistant, a professional woman in her 50s, gestured toward a chair. Mr. Chin is in a meeting, but he said he'll see you as soon as possible. He's very interested in anything related to global tech. Sarah waited for 2 hours. During that time, she saw executives hurrying in and out of conference rooms. She heard fragments of heated conversations about budget cuts and layoffs. Finally, the assistant approached her. Mr. Chin will see you now. David Chin was younger than Sarah had expected, probably in his early 40s. He had kind eyes but looked exhausted. His desk was covered with financial reports and his computer screen showed multiple charts and graphs. Ms. Martinez, he said, standing to shake her hand. I understand you have information about the global tech contract. Sarah handed him the envelope. Sir, I work in data analysis on the night shift. Last night, I discovered something you need to see. David opened the envelope and began reading. Sarah watched his expression change as he turned each page. His eyebrows rose. His jaw tightened. By page 10 he was leaning back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. How long did this take you to compile? He asked quietly. About 6 hours, sir. And you found all of this by yourself? Yes, sir. David was quiet for a long moment. Then he pressed a button on his desk phone. Security, I need you to escort Marcus Webb to conference room A immediately. Don't let him access his computer or take anything from his office. He looked at Sarah. I need you to stay here while we verify this information. If what you found is accurate, you may have just saved this company. The next 3 hours were a blur. Sarah watched from David's office as security escorted Marcus Webb through the hallway in handcuffs. His face was red with anger and humiliation. The FBI arrived to take custody of the evidence Sarah had compiled. Financial investigators confirmed her findings. By the end of the day, Marcus Webb was charged with embezzlement, fraud, and theft. The local news picked up the story. TechFlow employee uncovers $200 million fraud scheme. Sarah's name wasn't mentioned, but she knew her life was about to change. David Chin called her back to his office at 6 p.m. Sarah, he said, what you did today was extraordinary. Your analysis was perfect. Your documentation was thorough. You single-handedly uncovered a scheme that would have bankrupted this company. Sarah felt tears welling up in her eyes. I just did my job, sir. No, David said firmly. You did much more than that. You showed incredible intelligence, courage, and integrity. I've been looking at your employee file. You've been with us for 3 years, working night shifts, never missing a day. Your performance reviews are outstanding. He paused. I also discovered something interesting. You have a master's degree from MIT, but you're working as a data analyst. Why? Sarah's cheeks burned with embarrassment. I was afraid if you knew I was overqualified you might let me go. I need this job. I have a daughter. David's expression softened. Sarah, I want to offer you Marcus Webb's position. Senior Vice President of Operations. It comes with a salary of $250,000 per year, full benefits, stock options, and a company car. Sarah's mouth fell open. She couldn't speak. But, David continued, I want to offer you something even better. I want you to be our new Chief Technology Officer. The salary is $400,000 per year plus bonuses. You'll oversee all of our technical operations and report directly to me. Tears were streaming down Sarah's face now. Sir, I don't understand. Why are you doing this? David smiled. Because 3 years ago when I started this company I was a single parent too. I had a 6-year-old son and $500 in my bank account. I know what it's like to work multiple jobs, to worry about rent money, to watch your child go without things they need. He leaned forward. But more than that, you have something that can't be taught. You have integrity. When you found evidence that could have destroyed Marcus Webb, you could have used it for revenge. Instead, you did the right thing to protect the company and save people's jobs. Sarah was crying too hard to speak. There's one more thing, David said. He handed her a check. This is a $50,000 bonus for uncovering the fraud. I want you to take some time off, spend it with your daughter, and start your new position next month. Sarah looked at the check through her tears. It was more money than she had ever seen at once. Mr. Chin, I don't know what to say. Say you'll take the job, he smiled. This company needs people like you. People with your intelligence, your work ethic, and your character. That evening, Sarah picked up Emma from after-school care. For the first time in months, she wasn't exhausted. She wasn't worried about money. She felt like she could finally breathe. Mommy, you look different, Emma said as they walked to the car. How do I look different, sweetheart? You look happy. Sarah knelt down and hugged her daughter tightly. I'm happy, Emma. Things are going to be different now. Better. That weekend, Sarah took Emma shopping for new clothes and shoes. She enrolled her in the art classes Emma had been wanting to take. She put a deposit down on a beautiful two-bedroom apartment in a safe neighborhood with good schools. On Monday morning, Sarah walked into TechFlow Industries wearing a new suit and carrying herself differently. She wasn't the tired, worried single mother who had been struggling to make ends meet. She was Sarah Martinez, Chief Technology Officer. The news of her promotion spread quickly through the company. Some people were surprised. Others were jealous. But most employees were happy to see someone who truly deserved success finally get their chance. Marcus Webb's fraud trial lasted 3 months. He was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison in order to pay back the money he had stolen. During the trial, it was revealed that he had been living an extravagant lifestyle, buying expensive cars and vacations with stolen company funds. Sarah felt no satisfaction in his downfall. She had never wanted revenge. She had simply wanted to do the right thing. A year later, Sarah was featured on the cover of Tech Weekly magazine. The single mother who saved a $200 million company, the headline read. The article detailed her rise from night shift data analyst to chief technology officer. In the interview, Sarah was asked what advice she would give to other single parents struggling to advance their careers. Never give up, she said. Your circumstances don't define your worth. Your character does. Work hard, be honest, and when opportunity comes, be ready for it. Emma, now 9 years old, kept the magazine cover on her bedroom wall. My mom is a hero, she would tell her friends at school. David Chen and Sarah became close colleagues and friends. He often said that hiring her was the best business decision he had ever made. Under her leadership, TechFlow's technical operations improved dramatically. The company's stock price doubled and they won several major new contracts. Sarah never forgot where she came from. She established a scholarship program for single parents pursuing degrees in technology. She mentored young employees and made sure that hard work and talent were recognized, regardless of someone's background. 3 years after that night when she discovered the fraud, Sarah was invited to speak at MIT's graduation ceremony. She stood at the podium, looking out at hundreds of young faces, and remembered her own struggles. Success isn't about where you start, she told the graduates. It's about how you respond when life challenges you. It's about maintaining your integrity when it would be easier to compromise. It's about having the courage to do what's right, even when you're afraid. In the audience, Emma sat in the front row, beaming with pride. Next to her sat David Chen, who had become like family to them both. After the ceremony, a young woman approached Sarah. She was clearly struggling, her clothes worn and her shoes scuffed. Ms. Martinez, she said nervously, I'm a single mother with 2 kids. I just graduated with a computer science degree, but I'm having trouble finding work. Everyone says I don't have enough experience. Sarah smiled and handed the young woman her business card. Call me Monday morning. We have several entry-level positions open, and I know talent when I see it. As Sarah drove home that evening, Emma fell asleep in the passenger seat. Sarah thought about how much their lives had changed. They lived in a beautiful house now. Emma went to a great school and was taking violin lessons. Sarah had savings in the bank and could afford to give Emma everything she needed. But the most important change wasn't the money or the house or the job title. It was the knowledge that doing the right thing, even when it's scary, always leads to something better. Sarah had learned that integrity isn't just about being honest with others. It's about being honest with yourself about what you're capable of achieving. It's about believing that you deserve good things and then working hard enough to earn them. When Marcus Webb stole from the company, he thought he was taking the easy path to wealth. Instead, he destroyed his career, his reputation, and his freedom. When Sarah chose to report the fraud, she thought she might be risking everything. Instead, she discovered that taking the honest path, even when it's difficult, leads to rewards she never could have imagined. 5 years later, Sarah was named CEO of TechFlow Industries when David Chen decided to start a new company. Her first act as CEO was to implement a program that provided childcare services for all employees, free college tuition assistance, and flexible work schedules for parents. No single parent should have to choose between taking care of their children and advancing their career, she announced at the company-wide meeting. The program was so successful that other companies began adopting similar policies. Sarah was invited to speak at conferences around the world about work-life balance and corporate responsibility. Emma, now a teenager, often traveled with her mother to these speaking engagements. She was proud to see how her mother had not only changed their lives but had also made life better for thousands of other families. One evening, as they sat in their garden watching the sunset, Emma asked her mother, "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't found that fraud that night?" Sarah considered the question carefully. I think about it sometimes, she said. But you know what I've learned? Good things happen to people who are prepared for them. I had spent years studying, working hard, and developing my skills. When the opportunity came to make a difference, I was ready. But weren't you scared? Emma asked. I was terrified, Sarah admitted. But I realized that the scariest thing wasn't taking a risk to do what was right. The scariest thing was doing nothing and watching the company fail, knowing I could have prevented it. Emma nodded thoughtfully. I want to be brave like you when I grow up. Sarah smiled and pulled her daughter close. You already are brave, sweetheart. You're kind, you're smart, and you have a good heart. That's all you need to change the world. As the years passed, Sarah's story became legendary in the business world. She was featured in documentaries, wrote a best-selling book about leadership and integrity, and became one of the most respected executives in the technology industry. But she never forgot the lesson that changed everything. That one person, armed with truth and courage, can overcome any obstacle and create a better future not just for themselves, but for everyone around them. The single mother who once worried about paying rent had become a woman who created opportunities for others to succeed. The night shift data analyst who was told she wasn't leadership material had become a leader who inspired thousands of people around the world. And Emma, the little girl who once wore shoes with holes, grew up to become a successful engineer herself, carrying on her mother's legacy of integrity, hard work, and compassion. Sarah's story proved that it doesn't matter where you start in life. What matters is your character, your determination, and your willingness to do what's right, even when it's difficult. Sometimes, the most extraordinary changes begin with the smallest acts of courage. Sarah Martinez discovered that truth on a quiet night when she chose to speak up instead of staying silent. That choice didn't just save a company or change her life. It changed the world.